I'm going Bowser, Sephiroth, and Super Saiyan KO Canon, and them best believe that when I'm done, they know that I ain't playing with them anymore. I'm going Kamehameha and shit. Destructiveness, I ain't the one to fuck with.
What's up, my Wizards Dev? SBMTG down there, WEGOTDCKS. And you know, a really important deck right now, whether you're talking modern or standard, is white-black Eldrazi, the old Orzhov Eldrazi 1-2 punch. Especially in modern, it's like the deck to play right now. But, you know, if we're going to cover a deck, we're going to put a little twist on it. You know, that's what we do. Because you can find the white-black Eldrazi deck pretty much anywhere online. There's a lot of writing about it right now. So how can we fiddle around with it in standard to maybe make it, dare I say, better? Let's add a color. That seems to be the thing you do in standard now. Let's play Mardu Eldrazi. I actually think that opens us up to at least 2 or 3 really, really good options. So let's check it out. There's 23 creatures in the deck, and I'll start with one of the best reasons, I think, to play Mardu colors. This is Forerunner of Slaughter. We're going to play 2 copies. On turn 3, you can have played a Eldrazi Mimic on your second turn. Third turn, you play your Forerunner, give it haste, swing 6. That's not bad, I guess. Not to mention that you pay 1 extra mana, he gives all of your dudes haste for the rest of the game. Any dude you play, you pay an extra mana, he has haste. So that's pretty good too. Forerunner's awesome. You know, 2 mana, 3 power guy. So there's lots of reasons to play it, so let's do that. 3 copies of Eldrazi Mimic in the deck. I just mentioned him. This card is actually real. There's a couple of cards in the deck like that, where it's like, before Oath came out and, you know, was officially released, everyone's like, is this card going to be a thing or not? Turns out Eldrazi Mimic definitely is, and that price spike is real too, man. Ever since the Eldrazi deck took off in Modern, this card's gone from like $1.50 on the high end to almost $6 on the high end. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a good card at this point. Another way of giving your creatures that you play later on in the game a form of haste. You know, you play a big guy and then, you know, effectively swing with its power that turn. That's not bad. And on like turn 5, you play a Reality Smasher and you can swing 10 if you have a Mimic out. So that's pretty good too. Just Mimic is cool in that he's a 2 power, you know, 2 mana guy, which is where you want to be on the curve anyway. And he has the potential of being a much bigger creature like almost every turn after that on into the late game. So Mimic is real. Mimic is real and is awesome. So play that. Really, really good 2-drop for the deck that's kind of looking to fill out its 2 drops. 3 copies of Bearer of Silence to finish off the 2-drop creatures. This is really the best 2-drop creature in the deck and is often a 4-drop creature. We're playing a couple of those. But in any case, just even as a 2-mana guy, you know, he's a 2-power flyer, which is good against some decks. And then against other decks, he can kill things like a Jutai, Silumgar, indestructible creatures even, you know. Just a good all-around creature. I like things with these Necrotal effects. Necrotal, the first creature with this sort of, you know, removal attached to a body type ability, and is just one of the most classic creatures ever, and we see why. Playing a body that kills one of their bodies is always, always pretty darn good, and Bearer is the best creature in Standard that does that right now. Except for maybe this guy. 4 copies of Wasteland Strangler in the deck. Yet another Necrotal type effect. And that is 7 creatures that allow us to kill creatures when we cast them. Not even when they enter the battlefield, but when we cast them. That is actually an important distinction against, you know, some control decks that play counterspells. Pretty important. Wasteland Strangler, just, you know, 3-power guy, 3 mana, it's a decent deal in and of itself. Plus, again, removes a guy when it comes into play. That's awesome. We're playing something like 12 different cards that allow us to exile things one way or another. So that's plenty, I think, to play all 4 of the Wasteland Stranglers. Because sometimes you'll play it even not having to remove a guy, you know. Again, serves a dual purpose. It's a decent on-curve creature, even if you're not destroying something, against certain slower, turtly, or even control decks. So even if you're not destroying a guy, it can sometimes be a fine creature, but when you do kill a guy, it's actually ridiculous. Putting 3 power on the board and killing one of their better guys, you know, Manus Rider or something, can actually be like insane. 3 copies of Eldrazi Displacer in the deck. This is another thing that's real, and we weren't sure if it was going to be real or not. Turns out it's very real. Important card in Standard right now in a couple of different decks, and not just the decks that I've made for the channel. This is actually a real card in Standard decks right now, for a lot of reasons. You know, very versatile guy. It can make a Thought-Knot Seer come into play over and over. That's really good. Or it can save our dudes from targeted removal. That's good. Or it can keep their guys out of combat. That's good. There's just so many different reasons why the card works, and once you untap with it and can start doing tricks, it's just like unstoppable. The card's fantastic. This is one of the reasons why. 4 copies of Thought-Knot Seer, and yeah, all 4 copies. Just the card has proven to be probably the best Eldrazi released in Oath of the Gatewatch. It is that good, you guys. And once you can basically do it every single draw step with an Eldrazi Displacer, that becomes super nuts pretty quickly. Lots of good reasons to play the card right now. Just really efficient beater for the mana cost, and That ability is super crazy that you can do that. Just one copy of Cala Toss in the deck. We see that a lot of the white-black Eldrazi decks in Standard will run one copy of Cala Toss, and then another one on the board. Cala Toss looks weird because we're running a lot of things that exile creatures, you know, but we are running these 7 creatures that can kill a guy. We're also running like Crackling Doom, there's Kolaghan's Command that can kill dudes. So we're killing a lot of creatures, you know, not to mention that really just, we've had a lot of big creatures, and in combat, their guys are gonna die occasionally. So Cala Toss can just kind of sit back and get bigger and bigger as the game goes on. Just the one copy of Cala Toss I think is definitely fine, you know. He looks a little off synergy, but he's actually more on than you might think, and is just such an important creature, you know. It's started off at what, like $5? It was like $2.50 to $5, and now look at that price. It's really jumped because people are realizing day by day how good the card is. And from what we've seen of Shadows over Innistrad now, it looks like it's probably going to get better when that set comes out. As a matter of fact, it kind of looks like a card that was supposed to be in Shadows over Innistrad, but they just like snuck it into Oath, you know. So, but yeah, the card's good enough to play the one of because we're in black, basically. Finish the creatures off, 3 copies of Reality Smasher. Yet another thing that soared in price over the last couple of weeks. You've made a good amount of money if you invested in this, and there's no reason, or there's obviously, you know, a reason why it's jumped in price so much. It sees a lot of play in the modern Eldrazi deck, and in standard Eldrazi decks too. It's just an amazing 5-drop play that forces 2-for-1s, has haste, works really well with Eldrazi Mimic. Just there's so many good things about Smasher. Just an amazing top-end threat, and really just the best thing we could hope to play at this spot on the curve. We don't want to go any higher than this, you know, we're not playing huge things, but this definitely works, and I mean, we don't have to go any higher than this. The card is ridiculous. 12 other spells in the deck, a lot of them exile creatures, you know. Silkrap just obviously takes out most of the important problem cards in the format. And yeah, I said most. I mean, it takes out Monastery Swift Spear, Abbot of Carroll Keep, it takes out Jaces, Hangerback Walkers, Manus Riders, and Afenzas. I mean, you can keep going too. Den Protector, Deathmist Raptor, so many things in the format fall to a Silkrap. Just one copy of Complete Disregard in the deck. We see a lot of standard Eldrazi decks play the one copy of Disregard. It kills almost all the things that I've just mentioned there. I'm pretty sure, except for like Anafenza, it kills like everything I just mentioned. And not only that, again, it exiles the creature. That's cool. And at instant speed, so that is even better. So just the one copy of Complete Disregard. I don't think we can really go wrong with that. Just solid. 2 copies of Kolaghan's Command in the deck, and I actually think this is like one of the big, huge reasons, besides Crackling Doom, to play Mardu colors in the deck. In this case, if they do manage to kill one of your Eldrazi, and God forbid it's a Reality Smasher they just had to 2-for-1 themselves for, we can get right back into our hand. That's awesome. That's just indispensable, the Raise Dead sort of ability on Kolaghan's Command. Not only we can kill small creatures, we can kill Hangerback Walkers and other artifacts and stuff, which is sort of important. We kill like Hedron Archive, you know, that's a thing. And, you know, making discard cards too. Against control, that's really, really good. And even against some mid-range decks, making them discard can be great too. So just everything Kolaghan's Command does is great. Sometimes we'll kill a small guy, get a dude back from the graveyard, you know. Just so many good options on the card that, yeah, we'll play that. Just extremely resilient. This is another card that's undergone a huge price hike lately. I was really hoping it would go down, but that does not look realistic at this point. The card has gone even more up because it's just ridiculous in Modern. And it's starting to see the play that it deserves to see in Standard. The card is just absolutely great. 2 copies of Crackling Doom in the deck. The other reason to play Mardu colors. Card is still just as good as it ever was, you know. We didn't play it for like 6 or 8 months when it first came out. I don't know why, because the card became just the dominant removal force in Standard, and it's not anymore, but still super duper important, you know. Just because Jeskai Black isn't the best deck in the format anymore does not decrease the value of something like Crackling Doom, especially when Reality Smasher is such a ridiculous card in the Standard right now. There's a lot of good reasons to play Crackling Doom. Always takes out the biggest thing on their side of the board, and the extra damage is nothing to sneeze at either. To finish off the removal, 2 copies of Utter End. This is just ridiculous, you know. Takes out things that aren't just creatures. Takes out planeswalkers, which can be very important. And it exiles things too, so that we can process them later for Wasteland Stranglers. So everything about the card, I've actually seen a lot of 3-ofs of this in some decks. I think we're playing an awful lot of 4-drops to be able to pull that off, but still just Utter End premium removal, and we need something that takes out more than just creatures, so yay Utter End. And I put this at the end because it's not necessarily removal or anything, but we are playing 2 copies of Transgress the Mind. Transgress the Mind, I think, is another card that gets more important by the day as people realize how good it is. You know, people started playing it in this white-black Eldrazi deck as a 3 and 4 of. Really, they started it as a 2 of, and a lot of the decks now it's a 3 and 4 of because people are realizing the card card is insane. Like, Transgress the Mind is very, very good. People were down on it because it costs, 2 mana instead of 1. But those are people that are asking an awful lot, honestly. The fact that it exiles the card and you never have to deal with it again is crucial, and it's totally worth 2 mana. So, Transgress the Mind. 25 lands in the deck, it's fairly cut and dry. I think the only thing I really need to point out is how good Corrupted Crossroads has been. It helps you cast your colorless Eldrazi and your colored Devoid spells. There's something like 20 some odd of those in the deck. So Corrupted Crossroads has been crazy. Other than that, though, I feel like this is sort of a basic, we want to play Eldrazi and Mardu mana base here. And here's your sideboard here. We're mostly just like rounding out the main deck, And we've got the Duress in there, the full play set against things like Control and even some mid-range decks, Duress is a very, very powerful card in this format right now. And it can nail things like Planeswalkers and such. That's good. Aside from that, I mean, it's all pretty much what you'd expect. Here's your power rankings, a final score of 69. That's actually really good. That's pretty high up there. For a deck that's not going to cost you much, I think the totals on this are like anywhere between 175 and 275. And that sounds like a lot, but a lot of these cards are going to be legal for a really, really long time. And it doesn't look like the deck is going to get worse anytime soon. So it's a pretty safe deck to build. It's got really powerful stats in some categories. We just play all the good removal. We play a lot of good threats, and some of our creatures are not just threats, but they're also removal. So we just, like I said earlier, there's like 17 different cards that remove things in the deck, and that's if you don't count the discard things like Thought-Knot Seer and Transgress the Mind. If you do, there's like 23 like pieces of removal. So the deck is pretty much all interaction, and that can be a huge headache for them. I think this is a good deck to build right now for multiple reasons. Going to last forever, translatable to Modern fairly easily, which is something you don't hear about every single day, and is just a blast. The deck is fun on top of all of that, so try it out. That's all I got for now. Still working out the kinks on Super Friends. I'm working on a 4-color Super Friends, and that has been just a pain, but we're getting there. We're getting there, baby steps. And the Pauper video, I've almost got completely ready. So look for those and a bunch of other deck techs. Subscribe if you're new, or if you just haven't done that yet. Like the content if you enjoyed the content. That seems fair. Comment. Like I said, I want to know how you feel about it and any upcoming things you want to know about. And yeah, I guess you could share if you felt like it. But nobody shares. It'd be nice if you did, but nobody does. I'm Def from SBMTG, and I'll see you cats later, man. Thanks for watching, my wizards.